A woman on a sovereign path, how does she move? And why are women's voices not being heard? I'm going to be talking about this relative to energetic realms, the internal realms, societal distortions and patterns that powerful embodied women are meant to break through. In order to receive the deeper medicine, the codes, the teaching that is within inside of this transmission, make sure to be deeply present, receptive, and listen all the way to the end. For those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Ashtyn Monea. I am a teacher, seer, and mentor for grounded mystics. This transmission is from my monthly newsletter subscription. Not all of my video transmissions that I provide monthly can be accessed through YouTube. If you want access to the full library, make sure to subscribe at the link below. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this teaching transmission for those who would be resonant. All right, let's drop in and begin. Last month, I provided a transmission on the feminine frequency. Today's transmission is going to go a little bit more into that, add on to that, and then also talk about how a woman embodied on a sovereign path, how she moves. I'm going to offer you an example, something that I wrote for myself because I am an embodied woman on a sovereign path who also works with women, leading and guiding them into these deeper forms of embodiment that include womb and otherwise sovereignty, the permission to fully express herself, the permission for her to fully exist in every room that she steps into. The first thing that I want to start off by really addressing is something that is especially obvious at this time, which is that women's voices are not being heard. And it's not just that women's voices are not being heard at this time. Women's voices have not been being heard. Now let's look at that from an energetic perspective relative to frequency. As I talked about in the previous transmission, feminine equals frequency. She moves relative to sound, as in sound is base code feminine, frequency is also base code feminine. Structure is base code masculine. So frequencies on Earth, we have a lot of distortion, for example, through a patriarchal matrix that does not build proper structure in order to really receive, honor, revere, be inspired by, and create through the feminine frequency. But if we bring ourselves back to original creational principles, frequency was born before structure, and structure is meant to allow frequency to be his muse. Why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because at a human level, what this means is that the actual sound, like the sound coming out of a woman's mouth, is invalidated, diminished, dismissed. She is given less of a platform to speak and also to exist. All women everywhere feel this. And if you believe that you do not have this experience and you have never had this experience, I can guarantee you that you are in deep forms of denial that are actually calibrated to distortions of a patriarchal matrix that makes you invisible so that you gaslight yourself and deny and diminish your own experience as a woman. When you come into feminine embodiment, you can't ignore reality. So an embodied woman becomes aware of these said types of patterns, and then she moves differently. She reclaims her voice. She reclaims her deeper knowing. She reclaims her feminine frequency. She reclaims her intuition. She reclaims her right to exist, and she anchors it deeply through her consciousness and her body to land that onto earth. And what also comes with her is the true original feminine frequencies, unobstructed by the distortions of a patriarchal matrix. This is also why, again, a woman who is embodied on a sovereign path moves differently. So part of what I'm saying here is that Diminishing the actual sounds that come out of a woman's mouth is also in an energetic frequency form to prevent the frequencies that would bring evolutionary progression to all of humanity that are needed here on Earth. A patriarchal matrix is going to prioritize not only structure, not only the masculine, it's going to prioritize the wounded masculine and the broken structure or the broken architecture. And that broken architecture, in order for it to exist as broken, resists the feminine frequency and feminine sounds. So, what this also connects into is denying feminine knowing. Oh my goodness, is that an epidemic? Women know, women see, women feel. This is why a woman can be in a romantic relationship with a man and she can know him at a higher octave that he is not yet embodied with inside of himself. Now, ladies, that does not mean that I'm encouraging you to date potential. I'm actually encouraging you to get into your body and date actuality, as in what is his actual form of embodiment. This also includes vetting a man's reception, because part of this problem of not listening to women is a lack of reception to women, women's experiences, women's knowing, women's leadership, women's like all of their mastery and skill set, everything that a woman brings into the field. It's like, no, you can't have that. You're not allowed to have that because men and under a patriarchal matrix supersede you, even though that's not true. So we have this issue of women not being heard and not being received. And we can see, for example, at the time that I'm recording this, how women's experiences, to include of significant harm and abuse, are denied outright, no matter how much ultimate evidence there is that women and more women are coming forward and saying, I have had this experience, this thing happened. It's like, prove it. Well, doesn't that also happen with the feminine frequency and also with deep feminine knowing that is based in her ability to see, feel, sense, and intuit? Prove it. This is also why on social media I have boundaries around things like debate. And any kind of person that comes into my space when I am an oracle and says, prove it. Oh no, baby, I do not move for you. You are either here to receive or not. That is it. But I do not come here to prove my existence to you or to prove my wisdom. Anyone who can actually see, sense, feel, and know and is receptive is able to clearly spot that I'm a deeply wise, embodied woman. So what you're coming to me relative to prove it is your own resistance. You're not even actually receptive to me if I did prove it to you, which I won't because I don't need to. That is also an example right then and there of how an embodied woman on a sovereign path moves. She moves with her deeper knowing. She doesn't invalidate her experiences. She doesn't dim her own light, her mastery, her skills. She holds her knowing in a room with others, to include when that room is full of people who would invalidate her experiences. Just because another person arrives to invalidate your experience doesn't mean your experience isn't your experience. Just because a person arrives to invalidate your wisdom because, for example, maybe they're on some egoic false power pedestal and they want to be superior to you and they actually aren't, and therefore they bring some kind of form of competition energy that then says, prove it, doesn't mean that you are not a deeply embodied and powerful woman. But the ways that you hold this really matters, because it's like your embodied resume, right? Like you could be like, I'm a powerful woman, but when you walk into the room, you don't hold your presence. When you start in a new romantic relationship, all of a sudden you diminish yourself. When you are inside of an experience where someone is gaslighting you, you start to question yourself. That's not the way that an embodied woman moves. I'm here to call women into their power, because in order for us to shift around this entire distorted patriarchal matrix, we're going to need to not just speak and be heard. We're going to need to speak even if we're not heard. And we're going to more deeply need to embody what it is to be a powerful, embodied woman without invalidation and without reception. Though I would hope that you would receive it, I would receive it, we, the feminine collective, would receive that, because that is ultimately needed. Here's an example of how an embodied woman moves. This is something I wrote. I haven't yet posted on my social media. Always interesting when you say, I'm not available for external opinions, and someone thinks it's the perfect opportunity to give theirs. I'm a wise and sovereign woman. I invite insight from others only when they know me and my degree of embodied consciousness, when I respect them and they respect me. Opinions on social media from strangers I delete before I read. Choose to waste your time or simply abide by my consciously derived and well-stated boundaries. Simple as that. A woman on a sovereign path doesn't validate her knowing based on the bias and opinions of others. She derives it internal, and that's that. This is an example to showcase how it is your duty as a woman who is moving into higher degrees of conscious embodiment to validate your own knowing and also uphold boundaries around it. Women are taught to go outside of themselves for validation. They are taught that they do not lead, and therefore, for example, someone else must lead them. This is false. Because women collectively, evolutionarily, are leading evolution. So why, if you were, for example, I'm going to use myself as this example, I'm on the leading edge of evolution. How many people's opinions or also insight is going to match and meet me where I am? Not many. So why would I concede to their opinion, for example, through politeness or nicety that is expected, like an entitlement, that would therefore diminish my actual degree of embodied consciousness? That would be a form of self-betrayal, and I will not do it. And I will not concede my power to that which is less than me. I will not concede my knowing or my wisdom to that which cannot see me. I will not concede my pure frequency to that which is a distortion. This is your responsibility as an embodied woman. You have to preserve and protect what it is that you know, what it is that you see, what it is that you are. Now, I have to express this caveat. If you have not done the work of removing the distortions from your own field, your knowing is going to be problematic, because it's not going to be clear. This is also equal to frequency, because remember, distortions in the field, like, for example, a false belief. Like, let's say that you are believing that you are further along on a conscious path than you actually are. This is not what I say in my teachings. I call actuality. This is not actual. And if it's not actual, that means it's out of alignment, out of congruence, out of integrity. That creates space for falsity, illusion, and distortion. When we are looking at this through something like a woman's channel, if you are a channel, and let's just say that you are channeling in some type of information that you're receiving, but your embodiment, like your human, has all of these ancestral imprints, societal imprints, patriarchal imprints, You haven't done trauma healing. You have false ego beliefs. There's so much that can exist there. When you're bringing in what you're bringing in through that channel, it's going to get distorted by everything that is out of congruence down here. So part of what I'm saying is that you can actually be within feminine lead and leadership relative to the true and pure feminine frequency when what you are embodying are false beliefs and other versions of distortions. It doesn't work that way. And I really need to make sure to highlight that inside of this transmission, because I'm not saying that any woman, every woman deeply knows and she deeply sees with 100% accuracy. And therefore, those around her should attune to her. No, we should be attuning to those who actually have clarity. How I lead is I self-lead. And how I lead is I call others into their ability to also self-lead. Part of the issue with opinion, not a fan of opinion, is that people have this idea that we should be available for whatever it is that they believe. And that if we do not, we're self-righteous, we're closed off. All of those things are projections. Because what that person is really wanting is to be able to manipulate, to supersede boundaries. Oh, don't have a boundary there. And let me tell you why you shouldn't have a boundary there, because then you're not a good person. You're not nice and you're not polite and you're not available for what other people think. And therefore you're closed-minded. I am not closed-minded. I am available for wisdom. I'm available for insight that is actually true. I'm always available for truth. But I'm not available for someone to override my wisdom, override my boundaries, bring in their own opinions that are their own distorted thoughts that do not meet me, see me, know me, or able to support me. That is my boundary. As someone who does this work and facilitates this work, and I'm on a path of self-leading. You cannot possibly be on the leading edge of evolution and not be essentially forcefully and in many ways agonizingly taught to self-lead. And I've been taught for quite some time that I needed to preserve my channel. An example, oftentimes people will ask me for book recommendations, and it's like this did not arrive from a book or books. This arrived from life naturally initiating me participating and walking those initiations into completion. It is arriving also through my pure channel, my ability to receive information, to include information that doesn't even exist currently on Earth. There are times where I have gone to be like, oh, I really would love to read this book. And then my eyes literally will not allow me to see it. And the reason why is because I was taught, again, to refine, to self-lead, to preserve my channel. If something is written in that book that would deter me from my true life path and purpose, it might actually be false information that I would take in, digest, and then have to purge out. This would not be beneficial. So I've been taught for quite some time that I need to be a woman who self-leads. Part of why I'm speaking this is, one, as a woman, we need to make sure that we are creating boundaries in space for ourselves to receive the pure frequencies. We cannot expect other people to receive those pure frequencies and for us. Yes, when you're in proximity to a woman like me who holds the original hum of the original mother, lots of coding, embodied wisdom, etc. When you near my field, you're going to receive from the pure frequencies that I embody and that I have access to. But what I'm saying is that as women, we need to not outsource what it is that we are meant to insource so that we can receive those pure frequencies. So when you are a woman, you are taught to go outside of yourself into the external environment for things to validate your worth, validate your next step. And really, we need to be going inward, calibrating to the proper divine aligned frequencies, information, and deeper knowing that is living within us, or in our alignment. When we calibrate, we're able to receive the information here, 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 here. And we don't want to allow people to throw in their external opinions that block your ability to receive your next steps, your next deepest knowing, your insight that's unobstructed, that isn't based on some kind of conditioning that someone else is throwing into your field. You got to keep a clean field for it to also be a sovereign field. You have to uphold boundaries in order to have a sovereign field. No, people are not necessarily going to like this. They don't need to like it for it to be right and true and aligned in the aligned path for you. So this is what women are called into. And I think that a great example of this is equal to birth. Hello. Women's sovereignty, their voices, those two things are massively attacked by the medical industry when it comes to birth. It is horrendous. Horrendous, y'all. And so I'm bringing this up because it also connects in to your ability as a woman to birth into this world what is meant for you, made for you, what is also collectively evolutionary. As in, women don't just birth physically. Women are meant to birth energetically, ethically. They're meant to birth their creations into this world. And if you are accepting the invasions of opinions from others, the distorted frequencies, you are submitting to conditioning, if you are giving over your self-lead, your self-inner arrived authority, then it will negatively impact what it is that you are meant to be birthing. And I want for every woman, particularly those women who near the world of my work, because those women are meant to be embodied in their power and also to create and create through a new paradigm. I want all women to receive their true inheritance, their chosen and also sometimes pre-divined destiny. And if we are submitting to that which is not us, if we are allowing things into us or around us that are not actually for us, it is going to prevent us from receiving what is ours to receive. When we are speaking about this through the understanding of a channel, so I wrote collective noise. There's so much collective noise. I retrieve wisdom without distortion. I keep my channel pure and unobstructed. Outside opinion is a distraction. This doesn't mean outside wisdom is a distraction. The things that would be in alignment aren't a distraction. It's the things that are impure, illusionary, untrue, shadow material, which I am highly sensitive to because I'm highly attuned and aware. It impedes your process. We are currently existing inside of like I said earlier, broken architecture. We're existing in a patriarchal matrix. There's a ton of shadow material. There's a ton of unconscious and subconscious relational ways of being. There's a lot of distortions in the collective field. And if you want, as a woman, to receive the pure thing, the true thing, the aligned thing, the actual information that doesn't have nasty imprinting, then you need to know that your sovereignty, which is also held by things like your boundaries. Boundaries are not just relational and in person on the human level realm. Boundaries also are energetic too. You need to uphold your sovereignty. You need to uphold your boundaries in order to receive the truth that leads, because the feminine frequency is meant to lead. The last thing that I'm going to say here, most people do not trust themselves. This also means they believe other people cannot trust themselves. I do and can trust myself. I'm fully safe to trust myself. This is a big factor here. People who offer external opinions and they believe that you need to intake them, those are also people that do not trust themselves. Because it is based in the belief that we cannot individually trust ourselves. What I was pointing to earlier, that if you have done the work, if you have really done a lot of the healing, clearing, removing distortions type of work, this is where we begin to belong to our soul, which is a big part of my work, what I facilitate and call people into, trueselfembodied.com. If we have done the work to actually belong to our soul rather than belonging to the dysfunction or the distortion, if we have cleared our field from these types of inversions, and I'm not saying it needs to be 100%, but I'm saying that even if it wasn't 100%, you would literally be like, ding, I am attuning. I am attuning to the truth. I knew the pure frequencies. Okay, I can trust myself. And you must take action. It can't just be like, I received a deeper internal knowing, and this is my next step in life, or this is the thing that has been a pattern that's been swirling around in my life thematically that I need to navigate through, and then you just don't do anything with it. Because that doesn't build trust with yourself. You have to be able to receive the pure information, and then you deeply commit into the path of alignment, you participate, and you take action. And when you do that, your ability to trust yourself will naturally grow over time, over each and every moment that you choose to align. This idea that we cannot trust ourselves, it is embedded in the distortions of a patriarchal matrix that tell us to submit to conditioning, to leave our bodies, leave our soul, leave our deeper knowing, leave our feeling, desensitize, leave our voice, and to look out into a dysfunctional society for validation and confirmation in the next steps that we're meant to take in life. And the path of the sovereign woman does not move along those conditions. A sovereign woman moves through her deeper knowing, her alignment, her truth, and her embodiment. She fearlessly steps into rooms with a voice that is penetrative, that when she speaks frequencies, people stop. When she walks into rooms, people get curious and stare. She knows her value and she knows her worth. She does not allow others to gaslight her out of her own truth, experiences, and knowings. She stands firm and she calls people to meet her in this space. She does not go outside of herself. I hope this transmission has been supportive to you. Please, please, please share my words and my work. spreading this wisdom, supporting my mission, is something that I really deeply appreciate. I also appreciate all of you who have remained till the end to receive the full essence of this transmission. If it has landed for you in meaningful ways, feel free to comment and let me know how. Just a reminder too, if you're seeing this but you're not subscribed to my newsletter, do make sure to subscribe. As always, so much love to each and every one of you.